Right guys, in this video I'm going to be showing you how to create AI animated ads. These are super powerful. Not many people actually know how to even do them, and far less people are actually using them. So I've already made one and it's going to be for this brand. It's like a little dropshipping brand that I found, and I'm going to show you the ad right now. So this is the actual ad that I just went ahead and created. I made it in, like, no joke, like 15 minutes, but I'm going to show you us making something very similar to this, and we're going to be using tools like Nano Banana Pro. We'll use Claude to actually write the script. We're going to use 11 Labs to create the voiceover, and then we're going to be using Kling 2.6 and VEO3 to actually create the visuals. But first of all, let's actually just have a look at what we have there. So basically this product is like a dental chew for like bad breath and like loads of other like dental problems. The angle that we've went for on this ad is bad breath, bad morning breath. So let's just take a look at what we've got.
That horrible taste in your mouth when you wake up? It's bacteria winning the battle deep
So like,
at the
look
back
how
of your
crazy
tongue, where
that
brushing
is.
can't reach. Sulfur-producing bacteria are taking
Personally, I
over.
would
They're
like a little bit
creating
more
tonsil
cuts in this,
stones, that
but
rotten
you can see
smell,
how
and
well
that constant
something
bad
like
taste.
this would actually look on the timeline. Very eye-catching.
Mouthwash just kills everything, good and bad. But this restores balance. Oral Defense floods the war.
So that was just something that I made in, like, honestly, like 10-15 minutes. But I'm going to show you the actual full process on how to create these. And there's a few key points that you're going to want to pay attention to, because you can't just jump into like Kling and just create this straight on Kling. You need to use other tools as well. So let's get into the video. So what we need to do is we need to kind of brainstorm an animation ad to start off with. You need to do that part yourself. You can do it with AI if you want, but I already had this idea of like a mini battlefield inside the mouth, where we've got like the bad bacteria against this product, almost like if you've seen any of the UK Gaviscon adverts where it's like the firefighter, something similar to that. That's kind of what I had in mind when I was actually started to create the other one. So that is the main angle we're going for, and bad morning breath seems to be that's a big problem for a lot of people. So that is the angle that we're going to go for. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy and paste this URL. I'm going to take it over to my ad operator VSL scripter. So this is basically just lined up with a bunch of really good VSLs, and it basically allows me to create really good scripts just by plugging in the URL. So yeah, let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to put that in. I'm going to use Whisper Flow. Now I'm going to give it the idea of the ad, and I'm going to kind of map out the kind of scene. I'm going to do like a really short script, maybe like 20 seconds just for the sake of the video, and we'll see what we get. I want to write a 20-second ad script. I still want to use the VSL structure, solid hook. We also want to speak about the unique mechanism of the problem leading into the unique mechanism of the solution for this product. The main angle that we're going for is bad morning breath, and how the sulfur affects like the back of your throat and tonsil stones, and how this product actually helps us. I want you to bear in mind that the ad visual for this is going to be like a 3D render animation, and we're going to have like bad bacteria against good bacteria, almost like video game style going on as the visual. So bear that in mind when you write the script. Go ahead and write the script for me. Honestly, that Whisper Flow tool has just been an absolute lifesaver. I feel like I've just been wasting so much time without it. Okay, so what I actually had to do there was re-prompt it. The first script that it gave me out was just too short and there wasn't enough actually going on in it. So what I'd done was I re-prompted it and says make me a 30 to 40 second script. And it also says bear in mind the idea of having the little battle in the visuals. We need this to line up with the script, because the first one just didn't have that in it. So it's actually given me like visuals here as well. I'm not going to use them. But what we're going to do, this was the previous script, we're going to get rid of that. I'm just going to remove all of these parts first. So here we have the script. Ever wonder why your morning breath is so disgusting even after brushing your teeth twice? Here's what's really happening deep in your tonsil crypt. There's an army of sulfur producing bacteria thriving, feeding on debris and multiplying by the thousands. That's perfect. That's going to give us a really good visual to work off. They're creating those foul smelling tonsil stones that make your breath reek no matter how much you brush, and then it goes into the actual solution. So this is going to actually look pretty good. So what we need to do first of all, before we create any visuals, is we need to go and create the starter frame. So for this first frame, this was my other frames, we're going to be using Higgs field and I'm going to be using 2.6. I kind of go between Kling and VEO3. VEO3 is a bit faster. Sometimes Kling just makes it look better. So we're going to make this first one with Kling and see how it looks. Actually, probably what we'll do is we'll put both of the prompts into VEO3 and Kling and just see which ones are better. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to come over to Gemini and I'm basically going to give Gemini the script for this ad and I'm going to get it to create a storyboard. Sometimes I like to work off the fly, but for this one I'm going to get a storyboard just so I have a rough idea of what's going to be happening inside the ad. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to prompt it to create me a 5-scene storyboard and I'm going to give it the script. Act as an AI filmmaker who is an expert in creating direct response ads for e-commerce brands. I want you to create me a 5-scene storyboard in text. Do not use Nano Banana Pro, do not make any images, and it's going to be for this script. Now, I want you to bear in mind that the idea I have for this ad is like a mini battlefield inside the mouth. It's going to be 3D render, almost like video game style, animation style inside the ad. So go ahead and create that for me. Okay, so what we have here, so 3D animation style, like strategy video game. Yeah, that's kind of perfect. This is looking good. Fly into an open mouth. We see a giant stylized 3D toothbrush scrubbing the teeth. Right. So what I'm actually going to do inside this exact chat, sometimes what I'll do is I'll take the scene and put it into a new chat, but I think we should be able to get this part. So what I'm going to say to it now is, I want you to create me a Nano Banana Pro prompt, text to image prompt, highly detailed, that's going to create the starter frame for scene 1. So now we have this. So let's go ahead and see what this brings out for us. We've got Unreal Engine on that, which is not ideal. But this could work. We'll go ahead with this. So let's download this image, and this is going to be the starter frame. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go back over to our storyboard actually, and I'm going to pull in the entire storyboard and just put it into Google Docs, just so that we've got it there. So let's just take a look at this. I think what I'm going to end up doing is using the starter scene and then making up my own stuff, but we'll see what this is. Dive one past the teeth and uvula. This could work. But let's take a look at scene 1. We'll probably use scene 1. First person POV, flying into the open mouth. We see a giant 3D scrubbing the teeth. It looks mechanical, like a giant street sweeper. It's scrubbing a thick, toxic green frog, representing bad breath. Right, this is looking pretty good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this over to Higgs field. I'm going to upload that image, and then I'm just going to speak the prompt. The giant toothbrush is scrubbing very aggressively and it's spinning really fast. We can also see like a green mist coming from the teeth and the tongue and over the entire camera screen to represent bad breath that's building up inside the mouth. Now what I'm going to do is I'm literally just going to copy and paste that prompt in. Oh, we're going to generate that. I'm also going to take this over to, so this is VEO3. We're going to go frames to video. We're going to enter that image. We're going to make sure that it's portrait, and then we're going to copy and paste our prompt in. Now, in the meantime, while all that is actually happening, what we can actually go ahead and do straight away is go and create our voiceover. So I'm going to come over to 11 Labs. I'm going to go to text to speech. Now, I've already got a voice here. For the style of ad, you want something that's very like a deep voice that's like a really good narrator. So I've got old Ron here. That sounds,
Are you looking for a good voiceover voice for your project?
that's pretty good. We'll use him. I'm just going to copy and paste that in like that. We're going to generate the speech. So we've got the voiceover. So what I'm actually going to put, I'm going to put this in straight away. This way that we know like what's happening. Right, so what I've done is I've taken the voiceover, I've cut out all of the spaces and I've put it into CapCut, basically ready for editing. The reason that I do this is because if I'm going to work on the fly, I like to work like this, and you'll see why in a second, because once we've put our first clip in, we can then kind of use the end frame from that first clip to make the second clip, and it's just easier because you can see how this is actually going to look and line up with your script, so we can make it congruent. So we have our Higgs field, we have our Cling 2.6 video, so let's take a look at this.
Cleaning with maximum power. Eliminating odor molecules now.
So, pretty good. We don't need to worry about the sound because we're not going to have the sound, we're going to have the voiceover. I'm going to download that. Let's see what our flow one looks like. I kind of like this one better. Yeah, I think we're probably going to use this. So let's go ahead and put this in first, just to see how this looks.
Ever wonder why your morning breath is so disgusting, even after brush?
So that looks pretty good. So the next part
Deep
is...
in your tongue.
Here's what's really happening. Deep in your tonsil crypts is an army full of sulfur-producing bacteria is thriving on feeding on the debris and multiplying by the thousands. So for this part, we're going to go back over to our scene 2, which is this part. So the camera performs a rapid dive bomb past the teeth in the uvula, landing deep in the tonsil crypts. Perfect. Right, now that I've checked out scene 2, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create the image prompt for this visual. So I'm just going to say, create me an image prompt, again, text to image for Nano Banana Pro, and make this for scene 2. Okay, so it's given me out this prompt, but this isn't really following along with my idea for the battle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create my own. So what we're going to do is we're going to use this as the style. I'm going to come over to Nano Banana and I'm just going to say what I want to see. Create me an image from inside the mouth. We can see the tonsils and there is like a wall of plaque and white tonsil stones inside the tonsils, and there's like an army of little green blobs that are creating the tonsil stones inside the mouth. Right, this is looking a little bit better. So I'm going to download this. I think what we're probably going to do is, because that first clip came from VEO3, we're going to use VEO3 for this next one. So I'm just going to add in this next starter frame. Then I'm just going to speak and tell it what's happening. We're going to have a little army and they're going to be creating the tonsil stones. The army of little green blobs are creating the tonsil stones, and as they're creating the tonsil stones, the little green blobs are multiplying by the thousands. So while that's actually generating, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the same chat here where we got this image from, and for the starter frame for this one, I think what we should have is some sort of like closer up. We're going to dive into the back of the mouth a little bit more, and we're going to show one of these tonsil stones, and we can maybe like make it break or pop out, and then there's like a big stink that comes out. So let's go back over to Gemini, and then I'm just going to say, create me another angle of the same image. This time we're closer to the back of the throat. One of the tonsil stones is kind of split open with like a green mist coming out of it to show that there's bad breath. And in the meantime, let's go and see how our scene 2 is looking. It's not bad. It's looking okay. Let's see what this one looks like. Oh, that one looks better. Yeah, that's much better. So let's copy and paste this in. We're going to put that into CapCut.
Deep in your tonsil crypts, an army of sulfur-producing bacteria is thriving, feeding on debris and multiplying by the thousands.
See how our next image is getting on. So this is looking pretty good. Now let's go and create those white, foul-smelling tonsil stones that make your breath reek. So what I think we can do here is we can have this. We're going to split this into 2 scenes, because then what we can have is like outside of the mouth and the person breathes and then we see like a green puff of smoke or something. We're going to make it we can make it look really over exaggerated, because a lot of what we're doing in here is inside the mouth and we want to make it feel real Although it is animated and stuff, we want to make it feel real, like actually tying to that person's problem. So now I have my new starter frame. So for this one, what we're going to do is, like I said, foul smelling tonsil stones that make your breath reek. So what we're going to have here is one of the tonsil stones, or all of the tonsil stones break, and then this green mist and like comes out to make it look like it smells. The camera zooms in slowly and the tonsil stones start to break and pop out. As they're popping out, there's this green mist that's coming out of the tonsil stones and out of the cracks that they left, and it covers the entire screen. Now what we need to do is we need to create another style. Okay, so I was kind of struggling to get that image of the realistic image of the person about to smell check their breath in that same like Unreal Engine video game style, but what I went and done was just went into the same chat of this, and I just said this. I says, okay, I want you to use this exact same style image. This time let's have the image from outside of the mouth looking at the person's face, shot from like the neck up, and they're holding their hand in front of their mouth as if they're about to smell check their breath. Very simple prompts. I'm saying exactly what I want. We had to remove the green mist, and then we have this. So perfect. That is for our next scene. So in the meantime, let's go and check. This one actually came out really well. So let's take a look at this. Boom. Perfect. So let's download that and chuck it into CapCut. And we'll see how we're looking.
They're creating those white, foul-smelling tonsil stones that make your breath reek no matter how much you brush. Auralite's oxygen.
So now we are, so what I said was, I think we're going to split this into two. So let's create the other image and then see if we can get it in there. But that actually looks okay. We might not need to, yeah. Actually, what I'll probably do is I'll probably cut this down to there.
Stones that make your breath reek.
We'll cut it down there and then we'll have the person smell checking their breath. So we've got our image here. Again, I'm just going to say exactly what I want here. This time I think I'm going to want the camera zooming out and around. Camera zooms out and around to the front of the person's face. As it happens, they smell check their breath and like a green mist comes out. Really over exaggerate this and then have the person smell it, and there's a look of disgust on their face. Okay, let's see what we got. Looking not bad. That other one's well better. Right, let's stick this in. Now the point of this style of ad is to make everything look over exaggerated so it's not real.
Smelling tonsil stones that make your breath reek no matter how much you brush.
So let's take a look at the script and see where we are. Auralite's oxygenating formula releases activated oxygen that floods your throat. So I'm thinking what we can do here is let's have like a little product shot, quite similar to the one that I showed you in the example. So to get that, this one's going to be very easy. We're going to come over, we're going to take a screenshot of the product, and then let's have it, the background, maybe in like a kitchen cabinet or on a kitchen worktop with like a spotlight or something. I want you to create me a hero product shot just with one of these bottles. It's sitting on a well lit kitchen counter, but the background is dark and there's like a spotlight coming down to it, and the bottle's actually kind of floating in above in one spot. Perfect, so we've got this out. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to download this. We're going to take it over to VEO3. Okay, so I've already loaded in the first frame, which is like the beam of light showing down in front of it. And in the same chat, I basically just asked it for a video prompt for like a TV style commercial where it's like dramatic and then we get it to like zoom in. So let's actually see what this looks like. This is what I mean about using that whisper flow. That's like a part of the workflow that I would never do. I would always be very regimented in how I actually make everything. But now when I'm using whisper flow, You can get more creative with things. Right, so we've got our 2 videos. First one looks pretty good. That actually looks pretty cool. Put this into CapCut.
How much you brush. Oralights oxygenating formula. Release.
Now let's go back over to the script. So it releases activated oxygen to flood your throat, starving out the... Create me another image that's inside the mouth, and we've got the tonsil stones and the little green blobs everywhere again. This one is a little bit more of a macro shot. We can see the back of the teeth, we can see the full tongue, and we can see the tonsils. That actually looks quite good. Exactly what I wanted, a little bit more of a macro shot. Because what we're going to do is, while that's downloading, I'm going to go back over to our storyboard again. Now, for this scene, we need this part. The liquid releases millions of... it's not a liquid though, so it is a tablet. It's a chewable tablet. So I'm going to ask it for a video prompt for this action. Create me a text to video prompt, highly detailed. I want you to remember though that it is not a liquid, it is a chewable product. So let's add in that part. Perfect, so what I'm going to do is I'm not going to use this part, I'm just going to use this second part. And I already have my first frame loaded up, so I'm just going to put this in here. And then we're going to see what comes out. We're probably going to make this the last scene, just for the sake of the length of this video. We'll quickly put some captions over it, we'll add some music, and then that'll be us. So we've got our first generation. That actually looks pretty good. Let's take this one. We'll see what this one looks like, but I don't think it's going to beat that one. Oh, maybe it does. I don't know, you could use either one of these. So let's put that in here, and that is going to probably be our final scene.
Producing bacteria, while the good bacteria take over.
Yeah, we'll end it there. So now we have our little 30-second ad. Now all that is left is we basically just need to add captions, which in CapCut is so fucking easy. We're just going to add auto captions. On top of the auto captions, we're going to probably use the same style as that I used before, because if you ever like watch TikTok, this is why it's quite important to be a doom scroller if you're someone who makes ads. Because if you're a doom scroller, right, you're on the ball for like things that are going viral on... I don't have TikTok, I have Instagram, right, but I don't run TikTok ads, so I probably should be on TikTok just for that, for the sake of that. But if you are someone who scrolls on social media quite a lot, you'll start to see patterns that emerge, that like styles of videos. And I've been seeing these style of videos all the time, and you see them on, like, I'm pretty sure there's a big channel that does YouTube Shorts where it's like little information and like documentary style videos with these like little animation styles. So, and they use like captions that are similar to, what was the preset? Was it this one? Or wait a minute, it was a template. Yeah, was it this one? Yeah, that one. The one that I used at the start. So we'll put that on, we'll make it capital, we'll make it bold.
Ever wonder why your morning breath is so disgusting, even after brushing your teeth twice? Here's what's really happening. Deep in your tonsil crypts, an army of sulfur-producing bacteria is thriving, feeding on debris and multiplying by the thousands. They're creating those white, foul-smelling tonsil stones that make your breath reek no matter how much you brush. Oralights oxygenating formula releases activated oxygen that floods your throat, starving out the sulfur-producing bacteria while the good bacteria take over. Ever wonder why?
Now, obviously, I probably wouldn't run this ad, right? But the point is there. That is how I would go about creating this style of ad. To make one of these start to finish, it's probably going to take you a few hours. But if you crack one of these with the perfect visuals, the script is the most important part. I'll probably do I'll do another video on how to properly script these out. But if you absolutely nail one of these, a 2 to 3 hour investment with you and an editor is nothing if that scales a brand from 5k a day in spend to 20k a day in spend. And that is the power of one of these ads. Obviously, it's only going to work for certain brands, but it's something else to test. But yeah, that is how to create these animation style ads that are very high production. Like, if you can imagine the cost that it would, imagine the cost of one of these ads like 4 years ago to get an animator to actually create something like this. It's fucking into the tens of thousands probably. So, and now we can create it in like 2 or 3 hours with zero technical knowledge. I'm just speaking to a fucking computer and asking it to do shit. So that is it for this video. If you want more of these videos, make sure you like and subscribe, comment on what other videos you want me to do next. Get on the newsletter, bunch of free stuff on there, daily emails talking about all this stuff and other shit. And if you want a paid program ad operator where I go over all of this in much more detail, get access to that in the description as well. And I will see you guys in the next video.